Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today I'm here with Sarah DeHaven. And Sarah has been a long time member of the EA community and has newly become a part of our teaching community. Recently introduced her class series, Evolving the Myth, with a class on Juno. And for those of you who don't know Juno is an asteroid goddess. That class, Sarah went into exceptional detail in looking at Juno from an EA perspective. And as somebody who studied EA for a long time, I felt like I really took in the paradigm in a very strong way in your class. Just was able to really understand Juno. And I've studied Juno and I've done transmissions and teaching. I love, in particular, following all of the major asteroid goddesses, plus like the nuanced asteroids that we don't often hear about and aren't often taught about in EA. So, one of the things I wanted to do today was just to bring Sarah on um, to introduce everyone to you and maybe tell us a little bit about. Oh, my baby just woke up. One second.
Sure.
Oh, as I was just saying, Sarah, I would love to hear a bit about you, how you found EA, and what has been most alive for you in your practice as an astrologer.
Okay, sure. I actually started out as a psychic doing busking, like street performing. And the man who trained me in divination, he also had an astrology course, very intimate, working with him in a small group of people. And he taught traditional astrology, so no planets past Saturn. Really great foundation. And from there, I studied locally with an astrologer to get NCGR certified.
Mm,
During that time, I was at a conference here in the province of Nova Scotia. And that was when I first came into contact with Jeff Wolf Green. And what was really interesting, not like literally, but his book. What was interesting was a lot of people were saying, oh, you don't want to go down that route. That's not real astrology, and all of this stuff. And I was like, I mean, I have Aquarius, Mars, Aquarius, South Node, you know what I mean? So when someone tells me
don't tell
don't
me
do
not
it, I'm like, there's got to be something to this. And so Pluto Volume 1 was in the bookstore,
to.
but at the conference is being held at for only $10 because it was used. So I snatched it up right away, and there was no looking back because I realized that's the astrology I've been looking for. The
Mm,
one that actually gets to the why of matters, not just, oh, you're this, you have your, moon in Cancer and it's this, and you have your sun in blah, blah, blah. So that means this. It's like, why did you incarnate here? What was the purpose of you incarnating here? Why are you experiencing the experiences you've had? Why do you have the challenges you have? And how can you use that as evolutionary fertilizer, as I like to say, so that you can grow more and more into who it is you actually are on a soul level here in this physical plane? That to me has been something that I've just existentially has been important to me. I just didn't have words to put to it or labels until I came across Jeff's work. And
mm,
so from there, um, I it was just ravenous, like I had to learn more and more and more. And then I came into connection with Linda Johnson. She was running EA Zoom meetings at the time. And I asked if I could teach natural law, maybe do a presentation on that, because that's something I've been interested in for years, like with the Kabbalion and the principles in there. And, she opened the door for me to get connected in the EA community. And I'm so grateful to her for that, honestly. Because I wasn't certified in EA. I didn't actually get certified until I think about 2021.
mm,
So, but I had great interest in it. But she gave me the chance to still speak my voice while I was learning. And it was just like the community when it comes to the EA community. That's something I really have always appreciated, is that, you know, there's just a genuine desire to teach this
mm.
material because it's really important. So, um, what's alive for me now as far as all of that's concerned is really what's most important to me is helping people calibrate to their true self. And one of the most important tools is EA as far as I'm concerned. So I, I'll never not be a ravenous studier. I've got strong third house, sixth house placements, so it's always going to be a thing. I'm in
Mm,
the ninth house, right? So always loving to learn, but it's just understanding the psychology of people, but also really appreciating the actual diversity, like the breadth of diversity of souls that have incarnated here. So to me, like studying human psychology, but from an evolutionary perspective, is huge for me.
mm,
And I utilize it in my work to help people accept themselves really and realize what challenges are presenting and where, helping with deconditioning. Like I said, Aquarius energy, Aquarius South Node. I
mhm,
incarnated as well into a family that we can link back to Lynchburg, Virginia. So there's a lot of slavery connected there. So that deconditioning is so important to me,
mm.
and helping people just connect to that it genuinely feels like key to my purpose. So that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And how did you start working with the asteroids in your practice?
Yeah. It was another one of those things where people said, "Oh, you're wasting your time. Those are just little rocks floating in the sky. They don't mean anything." And I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 that can't be true." Because we could consider Saturn to be a rock floating in the sky. We could consider anything to be a rock floating in the sky as far as planets go.
Yeah.
Let's test this, right?
Mm,
So, I mean, it took me a year of studying astrology before I believed it because I had to prove it. A lot of Capricorn energy in my chart too, right? So it's like, okay, we need the proof here. So with the asteroids, I just started plugging them into my software. I use SolarFire, so you can put a lot of
mm,
asteroids, basically every asteroid in there, and just kept studying them, cross-referencing with other people's charts, cross-referencing with transits. And time again, I've not yet come across a situation where an asteroid wasn't relevant,
mm,
even if it was kind of um, esoteric and a bit difficult to grasp. There was still something there that had substance and validity. And strangely enough, I mean, some of these asteroids I would say are key players in significant magnitude to certain people's evolutionary paths when you compare it to their Pluto or their Saturn, etc. So definitely, to me, I don't know, it just helps add texture and color to the painting. So I
yeah.
really do appreciate them.
I really agree with that on many levels. I think from my perspective, when I started studying asteroids, I wanted to really see what I could do to evolve the myth forward. Like I've I think we're very conditioned to hear the same stories about things. And when I started working with asteroids, there's like the Roman myth or the Greek myth or whatever, but there's an element um, in the way that you presented Juno of something that I think I do, I try to really do is like, how do we evolve that myth to the present moment of this? And I felt you used the EA paradigm to extract this archetypal wisdom present in the asteroids chart, which was absolutely fascinating, for me, like to be devoted to taking the EA methodology, but apply it to something where you were also, I think, using your own unique gifts and strengths. That's what impressed me so much. And I've always looked at the asteroids from the perspective I more or less channel what their meanings. Like I use Jeffrey Wolf Green for how, where his wisdom shows up very clearly for me, but I gave myself permission not to use EA in that way. And I just thought you did an incredible job in the class of bridging the two, that bridging the stories and the myths and actually bringing in Jeffrey Wolf Green's teachings on how we look at, Pluto and the nodes and all of that, in a really concise way. So, for folks who did not get to join us for the Juno class, that recording is available. It's on the website. It's free to all of the current year association members. I put it in the Venus class series content library, but we're going to be doing the next asteroid in the series, and I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about how, you know, how that learning has been for you and what you're excited about for that class.
Oh man, like I don't know who said it exactly, and I'm probably butchering it as I try to paraphrase, but you really learn so much more when you're preparing to teach people
Mm,
something. And I've used Narcissus for years, but really scrutinizing it so that I could give as much value as possible to the students that would be attending this presentation, this class. It just opened things up to a whole new level for me with regard to Narcissus in a way where like a lot of compassion has come forward for this archetype because like using the EA paradigm to understand the soul, like what we do is we look at the discovery chart for the asteroid.
mhm,
And so since there's not a birth time, what I do is I borrow a technique from Tara All. She's another evolutionary astrologer where you can take specific planets and put them on the ascendant. So it makes sense for me to put Pluto on the ascendant since we're using the Pluto paradigm, Jeff Wolfgreen's Pluto paradigm. And my goodness, I mean, I've used this for clients without birth times. When you put Pluto on the ascendant, it's quite profound. And we can do it with the discovery charts for asteroids and show the soul of the archetype, which opens up a whole can of worms of questions when it comes to, what is reality even.
sure.
But yes, with the Narcissus, it's so much has come through that shows that I actually feel very firmly at this point that we may have been conflating narcissism with something that is not what Narcissus actually is.
Mm,
There's a purpose to this archetype that is actually quite profound when we look beyond the surface of um, what we define narcissus and narcissism as. And those are valid attributes or a valid disorder. But I actually like felt compassion for the archetype of Narcissus because I think we've gotten the wrong end of the stick in certain respects. So I'm really excited to share with people because everyone has a Narcissus in their chart somewhere. So it really helps us to have compassion for that part of ourselves too, I think, or at least that's what I'm hoping
mm.
to to share and convey during the class.
Do you happen to know where Narcissus is transiting right now?
I got the transits up right now.
Okay.
Yes, it's it's at 16 degrees 23 minutes of Scorpio,
Oh, wow.
and it's actually in a balsamic conjunction. I think it's balsamic to Juno.
Did
They're
you know?
very close
Yeah,
right
she's
now.
like 1525 right now.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And trining the north node of Pluto. So that's very interesting. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Hmm.
I feel like part of my curiosity with that, it's only been and maybe this is just me, but I've noticed in the last several years that the buzzword of like toxic relationships, narcissism, all these things, and what they literally do mean in terms of people discovering like being in abusive relationships and all of that, and all the healing and sort of unpacking. But it's one of those words that, from my perspective, has emerged intensively in the last several years, maybe more so than uh, in the last decade. And I don't know what the transits are or how long Narcissus is in a particular sign, but it makes sense that it's in Scorpio right now.
It's been taking a long time through Scorpio, if I'm not mistaken, too, because it's retrograded through the sign.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, if I'm not mistaken anyway, yeah.
And Juno has also been in a pretty extensive retrograde through Scorpio. I know I follow her transits regularly, and pretty much she'll go direct in the next couple of weeks here.
Hmm.
But then, it takes, let's see, I think until October for her to enter Sagittarius. So there's been at least 3 or 4 months where she's just been intensively working through the sign of Scorpio.
Mm.
And I find for that archetype, she's very directly connected to Jupiter. And so and we just had Jupiter enter Cancer, and they're going to be working their way through a trine. So lots of I've been noticing lots of like relationship sort of taboo topics think come to the surface. Like Aubrey Marcus had a podcast where he talked about his wife and their lover, partnership polyamory. It's like created this explosion in the world around both sides of people, ju a lot of judgment, a lot of really strong triggering, a lot of like intense stuff, and then also people in alternative relationship communities like feeling very seen or very and to me, I'm a Gemini moon, so it's fascinating whenever I see those extreme polarities and these elements of transformation coming through. I'm
Oh, yes.
for you, um are there other asteroids that you're following that you feel super passionate about?
Oh, yeah. If you can see my chart right now, I use the outside wheel in Solar Fire. It might look like gobbledygook to other people, but I got lots that I like to look at.
You
Like,
could share if you wanted to.
okay, it's I'm using a portrait mode on my screen, so it might not look the best, but if I can show you briefly, sure. Yeah, I would love to. Okay. Apologies for the lands or the portrait mode, but as you can see, I've got a lot of asteroids
Oh,
around
wow.
the wheel.
Amazing.
Yeah. So ones I like to track are Nemesis. Um, Karma is a big one for me. Lucifer, of course, because of Jeff Wolf Green's work on that is really important. Chaos, I like to look at. Cassandra, Damocles, Lilith. Oh, and Hybris is a big one for me too, because I like to look at that just to keep myself in check, but also to kind of watch what's happening in the leadership in the world.
There's a hubris about.
Hubris is a really interesting one. I'll just switch back. So that discovery chart, it actually shows a very immature energy that is, when kids, like, if there were no rules, kids would just do whatever they want. You know what I mean? Like they would just run wild, you know. Um, and hubris kind of shows that part of us where we can run wild to the point where it gets into quite an extreme that can cause harm, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it also is a part of us that is in a strange way kind of actually innocent in its lack of awareness of the implications and the consequences. And so we can actually learn about that part of ourselves when we look at hubris in a way that can just, at least from my perspective, show some forgiveness to ourselves, because no one's perfect and there's so many facets and part of our psyche and soul that's evolving at the same time. So we're all going to have a part of us that, is that child that just wants to run free and just kind of, go crazy and do all the things. And it can really help, especially I think too, for some people who might, depending on the sign. I mean, if you've got like hubris and Scorpio or something like that, it can be quite rapacious, honestly. So, we can learn about our sexuality in a way where we can accept it, but also be more conscious in how we are expressing it. Or right now, hubris is retrograde in Capricorn. So we're kind of seeing that playing out in the public sphere right now with I'm not, I shouldn't laugh because there's some pretty terrible things happening at the same time, but the reason why I'm kind of giggling is Elon Musk and Trump's Twitter spat that they've been having recently, which is just kind of comical. But the Capricorn energy can show this hubris of authority, where
Oh,
we might think we have the authority to suppress others or to, you know, but yet there's also this opportunity to notice where we can catch that in ourselves and really tune that into a direction that's helping us to mature the way that we would most prefer to be on a soul level. So,
oh,
yeah.
so true. It's funny. I think of my 3-year-old who she's like that, like left to her own devices. She will do things and I will come out and be like, oh wow, I would have never thought of that, like the
Yeah.
other day in the bathtub, I came in the bathroom and she had taken an entire package of flushable wipes and like pulled them apart in the bathtub. And so there's all these and she was really delighted with herself. And I was mortified that they're gonna clog the drain and do all these things, but it was like, anyway.
It's exactly like that. The
Yeah,
physical consequences, right? That we don't think about.
exactly. And so
Yeah.
then I'm digging out the all the pieces of flushable wipes, which anyway, that was fun.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Oh man. Well, maybe we'll have you do that one next.
Could be useful. Yeah.
It could be useful. And I think when you're putting all of this in context from what I hear and what I really appreciate about the way that you're looking at things is through this lens of the soul, and um it makes me want to tune in, to the ways that you can see the very specific work that we're here, or the why, right, of why we're choosing this life and when I was hearing you talk earlier, it felt like a way of cooperating with what's happening in the chart, and that the
Yeah.
asteroids are giving this opportunity for more information around how we can cooperate with the nature of the lessons, or the context of what our soul is here to learn.
Totally. I mean, when I mentioned hubris, for instance, it is actually squaring Saturn and Neptune right now. So
Mhm.
we actually can see how that's playing out in the physical world. And if we take Pluto at any point in time, in the transits or in our natal chart as the bottom line, it really helps anchor these asteroids in so we can get context, because I know it can be a lot of information and we can totally get into information overload, especially with Uranus moving into Gemini. I'm very kind of almost scared about how that's going to go with my ADHD. But in any case, but yet at the same time, it's like these fine tuning. If we really, really are all in dedicated to our soul's evolution and growth, asteroids can provide additional context to dial in and really optimize in a way that, if we look at it with compassion and understand, reality is unfolding the way it is. We don't have to be anything other than ourselves, really. So at least, this is just my perspective on it. So if we learn how to be just like the animals, just like the plants, and be more just that we are, I feel like we're really keying into our soul. And so the astrology, these asteroids can really help with that if that's what we're called to look at.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Well, for those of you who are called to join us, our next class on Narcissus is coming up on the 23rd. It is a recorded class. Live participation is welcome, but also if it's not in a time zone for you where you're able to join, you can sign up and you will receive the recording, the replay. For those who are joining us in this class for the first time who are not members, we're also including the Juno recording if you want to join us for that class. So we'd love to have you join us. We're so grateful, Sarah, that you're a part of this community, and to learn together with you is such a joy. So I'm really looking forward to that. All the details for the class are in the description to this video and are also on our website. So I hope you'll join us. Thank you, Sarah, for this time together. I feel like I could have so much fun just going down rabbit holes with you all day long, but I've got
Oh, we
a
could.
baby
Yeah.
inside who's waiting for me. So we'll save it for another time. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Thank you.